All right, hey there. Happy Friday. I have nothing on my mat here in front of me, but the plan for today is to probably do some painting mostly. So I'll show you, I've got over here some parts that I managed to have time to prime yesterday. So these are all mechanical surfacer, so it's just primer that is also a decent top coat for inner frame bits that I've been using on this build, and then everything else is just primed. So these guys actually are done. I could take them off of the skewers. We'll do that real quick actually. They're looking pretty good. Let's switch over to this camera. So yeah, nice just dark gray, simple enough. Some of these will probably need some masking to add a second color. And actually, as I take these off of the skewers here, I'm gonna separate them out into the ones that I know are gonna need some masking versus the ones that will not. So ones that need masking go here, ones that do not go here. And that way I can keep track of what pieces are done and what pieces need more work for later on. I think this one is done, as are probably all of these. Yeah, so I had yesterday evening, I managed to find some time to airbrush. So I had my first kind of longer airbrushing session in this new studio space. And it was good. Let me grab this real quick. Yeah, everything worked well. All the ventilation out the window is great. Didn't have any issues with fumes in the space or anything like that, so that was awesome. Let's get rid of all of, or put all these back into here while dropping a few on the floor. Awesome. Yeah, so those are done. These parts back here that you can't see are primed in pink. This one needs to be yellow and the rest of them are red. And I do have the colors that I had saved from when I had been working on this build. It's been several months since I did any work on this build. So what I did is I took a photo of all of the paint bottles sitting next to each other so that I would remember which colors are which. So the yellow and red go there. These parts right here need to be blue. We're using a mixture of E7 colors, and I think this red one is a Anchoret Ferrari red. So those are what we're using here. And then my other big parts are over here. And these, the base color is going to be white for all of them. It's actually an off-white. It's called, probably can't read the label because it's a white label on a clear bottle, but it's called So White. It's another E7 color. And then there's a slightly off-white version of it that's called So White. It's got just a tiny bit of gray in it. And then what I did is I mixed a separate version or a separate color that is a sort of in between those two with some of the yellow added in. So we end up with this sort of tannish off-white. So those are the three colors that go mostly on these parts here. I really like how smooth the primer layer came out. So I did a quick inspection of these earlier today, and they're all good. None of them need any additional sanding or cleanup or anything, with the exception of this one right here. So this part, we'll take a closer look at it. This is a 3D printed part that I modeled myself. It replaces, and we've talked about it before, so I won't show it again because it's not right here readily available, but there was a part that fits inside of sort of the chicken head area of this Gundam, and I wanted to replace that. So this part replaces that and adds these two little wings and some vent details and things. Let's see if we can get a closer up view of this. So there's if I can get the camera to focus. There we go, kind of. There's a little bit of detail in these bits here, and then there's these wings that come back that mirror the sort of shape and style of the fin that's on the top of the head. Not the Gundam head, the chicken head. So the problem with this is, not a problem, but once I primed it, some of the layer lines from the 3D printing show up, which is pretty standard. And so what I'm gonna do real quick before I get started painting, hey, good morning. Yeah, so before I start painting these parts, I'm just gonna sand this down just the tiniest bit to try to get rid of these layer lines, and I might have to deepen this this one detail here a little bit with a scribe or two. We'll see. Then we'll give this thing one final coat of primer before we paint everything else. Brush go. So Miniaturite, do I call you that or do I call you Chris here? Either way, good morning, how's it going? Excellent. All right, yeah, so if when I 3D modeled this part, this one little line here that you probably can't see because the camera's not that great, should be a 0.2 millimeter. And so what I will do is just deepen it a tiny bit carefully, because I'm not sure how well the scribe will ride in the line. Yeah, it's close. You know what? I'm gonna go with a 0.15 instead. So note for myself, I should probably, when I design these parts, these custom parts like this, I should probably purposefully make these lines just a touch deeper than I would normally want them to be, because there will be some sanding that's required to smooth out the part, and then the panel line ends up the correct deepness. Deepness? Good word. Depth. But here, this will be fixable, it's not a problem. That's true, especially of extrusion style 3D printing. This is resin, and so it's a little bit different, right? Because it depends what the pixel resolution of your LCD on your resin printer is and how that lines up with your print. Either way, I'm pretty pleased with how this part came out. I had kind of had the idea to fill that space in with something that was different from what came with the kit, and then to be able to execute on it and have it come out as nicely as it did. I'm pretty pleased with how this looks. All right, so that side should be good now, and then we've got to do the same thing over here. Yeah, I don't think I've ever shown on stream how this fits in the other parts. And so as soon as I get this sanded, I'll do that real quick before we go paint. I've never painted on stream before, so I have an idea of how it's going to work and how the camera setup works and whatever, but it'll be interesting to see how that actually looks. And as I normally do, while I'm airbrushing, for safety, I'm gonna wear my breathing mask and all of that, so I won't be able to speak into the microphone. Also, the microphone's over here and the airbrush is over there, so I won't really be able to talk or do anything. I'll leave the music playing, and I really won't be able to monitor Twitch chat that well either, I don't think, unless I grab like a phone or tablet or something and put it over there next to the airbrush station with the chat up. So I'll have to think about how to do that in the future, but for today I'm gonna just ignore chat and do some painting. Alright, so that looks excellent. Let me grab the other two parts that this goes with. So we've got that one, this one, just dropped something on the floor. Hold on. Right, so this part, it's actually two parts, is what's being replaced. And normally this would fit into this slot right here. Let's zoom in. Right, so there's a slot on the underside of this top of the head part, and this just fits in there and kind of fills that in like so. But what we do instead is we've got this, which has the same size fin there, and so that fits in like so, and instead of filling that spot out with a kind of curved section that was on those other parts, it instead cuts in, has a vent back here, and then adds these two fins that slope down from the front of it like this, and they match with the bigger fin that comes out of the top of the head up there. So that's what we've got. I think it's come out looking pretty good. Yeah, and it kind of solves the problem for me. I didn't like the chicken head section of this design anyway. It was too curvy. I also did some sanding here to like smooth out and kind of angle out this line up here as well. And also the one on the bottom of the chicken neck area. I just wanted it to be more angular, less curvy. I think that's worked out pretty well. So with that, sell one part. I've actually thought about, you know, with doing more modifications on a kit and then offering, you know, like a little package of parts for particular kits. Maybe I'll do that if I get inspired by a certain idea or design concept on something that I'm working on. Just make sure I got all the sanding dust off of this thing before I go prime it. Yeah, seems fine. I have an extra clip, which is bad because that probably means I'm missing a part somewhere. Oh well, we won't worry about it. I'll find it later. No, seems okay. All right, yeah, so we've got red, blue, yellow, and then this off-white. And I believe that will be the base layer on most of those parts. So let me figure out how we're gonna do this camera setup over there at the airbrush area. First, we'll turn on the spray booth. And I can hear that through the microphone, but it looks like that the mic's not picking it up. The noise reduction thing is cutting that out, so that's nice. So, phone camera's plugged in over there. Let's see if this works. Hey, that's not terrible. Cool. All right, let's go. All right, so quick break from the painting because it's been a while since I worked on this kit, as I've mentioned. And as I was painting that, I'm not sure that those colors are matching, especially the yellow. So I just wanted to grab this part that's already done and sort of compare. Yeah, so this yellow is a slight bit more orange. Part of that might be just the top coat, darkening it up just a bit. But that needs another coat of the yellow, I think, just to make it darker. The red seems good. Yeah, the red's gonna be fine. And the blue I was concerned about because it seemed too light, but now that I see this part here, yeah, it's fine. Okay, I thought I had the wrong blue for a second, but it seems fine. I remembered the blue being darker when I looked at this part before, but apparently it's not, so I'm good. All right, so let's, I'm gonna prime that one part that we cleaned up earlier and paint a second coat of the yellow on the one part that's yellow. I guess that's the problem, right, with doing this a section at a time like I'm doing now, is that it makes it such that you end up sometimes painting just a single part. So you're swapping colors more often, but I'm okay with that. So yeah, I'm gonna prime the one part we cleaned up. I'm gonna repaint a coat on the yellow, and then I'm gonna do this white, off-white color on all of those white pieces, which is gonna take a bit of time. So yeah, that's what's up next. Here we go. All right, so I think that's all of the base coats down for all of those parts. So we've got the white, the red, the blue. This yellow has probably dried a little while we were waiting. Yeah. So now I can double check. And that is looking much better. So that's very close. And the super flat top coat is going to darken it up just enough that that's going to match. So I was a little concerned with that part because I had primed it in gray before I primed it in pink. And so I thought the shade of the yellow might be a little bit off. And it was a slight bit, but that second coat has helped. So that's good. At this point, so funny story. While I was painting, I noticed I've got this purplish light. It's up on the ceiling over this way, and it's shining on that wall behind to give kind of a more interesting backdrop next to the logo over there. And that was enough of that was kind of shining down over the airbrush area that when I was looking at the off-white that I was painting, I kept thinking it had sort of a slight red or purple tinge to it. And I thought, is my airbrush clean? What's going on? Did some red paint get in here or whatever? And then I realized that it was just that purple overhead light. So yeah, once I got used to that, it was a bit disconcerting at first, but once I got used to it, it was fine. So yeah, I'm gonna mask these parts, not right now, but these are gonna need some extra detail picked out on them, and then I've got to just wait for everything else to dry before I can do anything else. So I think maybe that's it for today. It was probably boring to watch, and I will look at the statistics on the Twitch stream and such, and decide whether that's something I want to do again in the future. So that was like the first attempt at streaming airbrushing. I realize I probably need to figure out a way for it to be more interactive. Because when I'm over there, I can't see chat, I can't talk to chat, can't do any of that stuff. So I'll think about that as we go forward, but I just needed to get some airbrushing done today so that I could continue on with the build. So I'm glad to get it done, and sometime over the weekend I'm probably going to go ahead and do some masking and some painting of some additional detail layers, especially on all those very big white pieces. There's a lot of detail that needs to be picked out in other colors, and so that's going to take probably several layers of masking per piece to get it to what I want it to be. So yeah, I'll work on some of that over the weekend. Maybe we'll come back on Monday and do more of that masking and painting, depending on how far I can get. But I will definitely be back on Monday to give you an update of where we've gotten so far with this. And then after that, it'll just be a matter of doing the same thing to the Gundam that goes inside of the giant chicken suit. So yeah, there's still quite a bit to go. But also, like, every time I work with those very large white parts, I'm excited that those are almost done because they're very big. And what's left is more just like a high-grade Gundam, so it's not going to be nearly as time-consuming, I don't think, as what those parts were. Although, again, there's a lot of detail on here that I could mask and paint to pick out some nice details. So, like, there's too much white down here on the legs for sure, and up here on the waist, there's lots of detail that needs to be thought about for sure. So I will continue to think about that while I work on these parts. For now, though, I hope that everyone has a good weekend. It is almost the weekend, and I'm looking forward to having some time off and doing some soccer, actually, with my son. So that's going to be fun, too. All right, so that is it for today. If you stuck around and watched any of the painting, thank you. Like I said, it was probably kind of boring. But we've got parts. We got nice bright red, we got some blue, some yellow, and then all of those very large white ones. So with that, I am done for today. Have a good one. I will see you next time.